time I came across of this word called ontology, and that word was so fascinating that I, after my classes, went to my hostel, did my research, and got to know that it's a way that we represent knowledge on AI based systems, like we have like database in our conventional softwares. So the very next day I stood up in her office, and she gave me a page having some set of questions to just go and first do research on those questions, and it was like quite challenging, but at the same time my interest somehow aligns with her, because there was a project that she mentioned earlier, the DRDO project. So in the department, the talk is happening that in NIT, our department, in fact, Sarika ma'am was the project investigator for the DRDO project, and that project itself was on the semantic web technology. And I started working with her, and soon in the first year, whatever task that I got it from her, I kept on doing, and eventually I was fortunate enough that I got internship opportunity from IIT Delhi, and there were like 2 person, and then this thing all started into, and yes, I'm still working on it. And thank you, ma'am, for the encouragement. And I mean, yes, for this domain, had you not been there, I wouldn't have, came across of this something called cool stuff in AI. So thank you. And at the same time, during my, masters, I used to be the keen learner who used to watch the sessions from the experts that you must have been, having like since the last few days. But this time, I would say I have come as an, a bit, I mean, a kind of as a, I would say, I got a platform where I could, contribute a bit to the community as well as to my like campus itself. So thank you, ma'am, for this opportunity. And yes, looking forward to like grow and learn with you.
Definitely,
So
Vishal. Please go ahead. All of us are there listening to you. Thank you.
yes, just give me, ma'am, a minute. So in this project, the title itself is quite explanatory, right? We are exploiting the knowledge graph technology for facilitating the product discovery as, something called knowledge discovery for the domain product. So the whole idea itself starts that, if a customer wants to purchase a product with some input specification, and let's say his specification includes has make, has price, has color, but not limited to, and he gave his inputs to the system, and based on the facts or the statements available in the knowledge graph, these are the 3 products that came up: the product A, product B, product C. So as you can see, the product A has the annotation properties has make with the value apple, and product A has color black, and similarly for the other 2 products. So eventually, from these 3 products, the final match for these 3 product specification comes out to be the product B. Since product B is the only product which has make apple, has price, the one which the user has given, and the color, yes, the color, sorry, the color black, yes, although it doesn't have the other one. So from this semantic similarity, it generated this product as the uh, recommendation to the customer. So the whole idea is to develop an exhaustive, unified platform where user can basically get all the idea about the products that he wants to buy purchase based on the user specification, and at the same time considering the interest of sellers who wants to sell their product. That is why we came up with this unified platform. So of course the major motivation behind the project that ma'am has already told, but a few of them that we have came across while we proceeded. So already we have like such kind of recommender systems, like Trivago is one examples, where the seller, like from the different uh, you know domains. So for example, I think everybody has used the Trivago. It searches the services or product based on the specification that user inputs. But the currently there doesn't exist any recommender system which provide a consensual domain understanding. And what does it mean when I'm saying consensual domain understanding? That there is no platform where the product which is declared as maybe comprehensive to human, but not that interpretable to the machine. That will come up in the latest slide, that why I'm saying so. And so this consensual domain understanding is lacking in the existing products, because the domain is not shared across. Maybe Apple, maybe the Apple I am searching on meant an apple fruit, and someone who is searching an apple, intended to search with the aim to find a laptop. So here the consensual domain understanding is something which is lacking. And so moreover, there does not exist any platform which could gather the information or recommend the information without data scraping. So in fact, Trivago, what it does, it basically scrape the data across the various, seller site, OEMs, or the other online uh, digital prints of the sellers. And moreover, uh, there, those products are to be accessed through specialized API. So the motivation is we don't require any kind of data scraping thing. We don't require any kind of specialized API which needs to be invoked in order to access the product of, let's say, Flipkart that we are interested in. So we are looking for the product which just integrates data from various sources and dynamically just gives us the most updated information, and need not we the platform itself need not to take care of that whether the product from the seller is updated or not. It just simply fetches the data from the various sources, that's all, and present it uh, to the customer. How that will do is something that I'll discuss later. So the objective of the project is we have to come up with a cost-effective and semantic web aggregator for the product catalogs from the different product sellers on data web as a digital marketplace. So the tasks which were involved with the project were creation of a knowledge graph of the available products that we got it in the form of catalog, product catalog from the sellers. And the technique that we have applied on the seller's catalog is the ETL, the extract transform load for the transformation thing. And once a knowledge graph is created, we have to just store it in, like, we have Gina triple store for our local storage, or we will definitely upload it to the linked open data. uh, so these are this is the second task, and third is the knowledge consumption. So customer came up with the product specification, and now the knowledge graph is ready to give the semantically annotated products to the user, which are aligned exactly to what user intent. So the finding is that we came up with the minimum viable products that basically could able to achieve this semantic retrieval, not the keyword retrieval that we have in the conventional applications. And the other is product discovery as a recommender. So these are like few findings that we came up. I'll discuss in detail in the coming slides. So, like in the previous days of the session, I mean, we have been like looking like all these evolution of semantic tech stack, like right away from like Unicode to HTTP, that how this web, has evolved since the beginning. So let's move to some other, important related terminologies, which are part of uh, related to the semantic intelligence whole tech stack. So, like before going into the semantic web, so currently the kind of web we are experiencing, well, I'll not use the word currently because it's like most of the search engines are in the transition phase, and so like I would say like typically like in the web we have document which could be in HTML format, as you can see in the format with metadata, name that you tell, the description and content is with some information that is something for the user who like wants to surf the site for this information. And for author, you again define a metadata, the content, John Doe, again for the user. So here in the uh, like conventional web, what was happening, it was all about the web of document. Although we have, you know, a human readable document along with the machine understandable metadata, or you can say the related information that is for the machine processing. So there is a kind of, I mentioned earlier, like silo between those two things, like no interoperability between the understanding of machine and like among the human beings when it comes to any data. So this semantic web is an extension of extension of this the current WWE by W3C. So this in fact term was coined by the inventor of internet and web, the Tim Berners-Lee. And the whole idea is to make internet data interoperable between machine and human beings, so that like earlier there is no explicit requirement to differentiate between what machine will process and what is for the human understanding. So there'll be like a common thing which is like uniform across all the machine and in the human domain. So that is why we are saying this interoperability comes into picture. And the key enablers for this, semantic web are the RDF and the OWL. So, so the next terminology is the entity versus keyword. So, if I talk about like before coming into the difference, the conventional web, let's say in 10 years back, or before 2012, what was happening when you type, let's say, Washington on your search engine or a browser, what basically used to happen. So now here, even if I would say, if you would ask a person that Washington, so the person would basically I mean, take it in what way? He would ask you that, what do you mean with this Washington? You meant Washington as a capital of the US? Sorry, Washington as Washington DC as the capital of the US, or Washington as one of the states of the US, or Washington as the first president of the US? So here, across, I mean, these three things, different concept, which basically, representing different domain. But the common thing is the subject is something which is like common across three things. So the earlier, what used to happen, whenever we have or want to information related to that keyword Washington, it simply search all the documents based on that keyword wherever it found that information. But in semantic web, what happens, the everything that we are saying, everything is entity. And since entity is something which is like machine understandable, of course, human is also understanding that entity, but this is something which is like also understandable to the machine. And why I'm saying so, because entity is nothing, because just like the way human understand or interpret the entity as a real world manifestation of any concept or thing, in the same way you describe or machine take it, those real world concept or thing as entity. So that next time when you do search Washington DC on semantic web, it will first tell you, it will first ask you the context, that these are the three domains where this Washington is found, so in which you are interested in, so that in the subsequent searches the user's query would be answered according to the intended Washington, not just a random keyword search. Moreover, uh, this entity, I mentioned the machine readable concept. We need not to explicitly here provide machine any metadata about that. Okay, so machine, this is Washington. So we are not explicitly providing any metadata associated to that thing. So machine is interpreting it as the way human understand. So schema.org. So schema.org is a collaboration or a community activity with the mission to come up with the schemas to maintain, create, and promote schemas for structured data for like internet uh, related applications on. For example, we have like email or messages or any website. So that common schema for the structured information is something that schema.org promotes. And like before I go into the technicalities, I would take it with an example. So let's say the statement, my name is Vishal, and Vishal is an alumnus of NIT Kurukshetra. So this is an information that you want to provide uh, on the internet, annotated with the schema.org. So here, how would machine interpret this statement? So here, main subject is Vishal, and the other subject who is basically talking about the affiliation of the subject, the NIT Kurukshetra. So here, the Vishal, which is itself an entity of schema.org called person, affiliated with some property. Here we have alumnus, the other object, NIT Kurukshetra, annotated with another schema.org entity, uh, organization. So that's how you are basically annotating your the real world facts with this standardized vocabularies or some standardized schemas that was founded and developed by Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, and Yandex. And these are all the search engines who came up with the envision to make the current web as semantic web. So this schema.org is basically nothing but a schema which has like multiple domain knowledge, uh, which covers the entities, relationship between entities and actions. As I just mentioned, this Vishal, will be uh, uh, and come under the entity called person. So Vishal is a person, and this person is what, an entity of schema.org, which is understandable to the machine. Similarly for the other object and the relationship. And currently over like 10 million sites uses schema.org for their website or their mailing services. So in that way we could able to annotate our data. The statement I mentioned, Vishal, is an alumnus of NIT Kurukshetra in the form of what we are saying, uh, statement, and those statements are generally called triples in our semantic web tech stack. Since the data model that we are using for the semantic technologies is the RDF, which is Resource Description Framework. And here you will have uh, I mean the representation like in the way human understand, in the form of subject, predicate, and object. And everything, in fact, in the previous example I described uh, in this term itself only, that Vishal is a subject and Illuminous is the property or the predicate, and object is an IT Kurukshetra. So this knowledge graph is nothing but when we have like multiple statements, triples around those concepts or those subjects. Let's say Vishal is a person is a human being, human being, living thing, or Homo sapiens. Similarly, here NIT Kurukshetra, like organization, like comes under, like it could have like many organization in like education institution, like your professional institution, and further we have like which category it comes. So considering all those triples or the statements around that statement, we came up with what we call knowledge graph. So, there are like various, uh, as I mentioned, like several statements built around the subject of intent, which forms a knowledge graph. And A box in like this A box is assertion box, which is basically the triple statements which are compliant to the T box, and which is terminology box in conceptual model or ontology. So these A box and T box are quite formal terminologies in the domain of ontology. And these triples are published in linked data format, and this linked data format itself is an format which is adhering the RDF and the standardized technology by W3C. So HTTP, RDF, and URIs are quite the main three linked data principle that I'll discuss in the subsequent slide. So a structured data, since the schema.org is a schema for structured data on the internet. So we have structured our data in the form of RDF such that each statement or triple unit, that is subject, predicate, and object, are uniquely identified through URIs. And URIs are nothing but uniform resource identifier. And uh, this RDF, since the statement itself, the fact itself is in this format, and each this statement or information or the subject or predicate, or rather I would say an entity, is accessible through HTTP protocol. And every other linked data is linked with the other entity through the links itself, and those links are nothing but the URI. And when this linked data is publicly available, like we have the linked open data, which is a cloud of this whole linked data, which contains currently like 309 data set with 16,283 links as of 2020, and it's still growing. So the very so BBC Music website is like has been like one of the initial website who plunge on this semantic web technology. The best part of this BBC Music website is they do not have anything of their own. The best thing is they completely leveraging the semantic web technology by giving an ultimate or engaging experience to its user. So the underlying technology is, since it's semantic web, so the whole idea the website uses is it simply access the DBpedia. These are some open linked data, DBpedia, MusicBrainz, Last.fm, and there are like many few open data sources that it directly fetch the information to its user without any explicit special requirement of any API like we have currently. First, as we do like currently, if we want to have any information about let's say this product called Apple MacBook. So what would happen? First, it will take you to the Flipkart. Then from Flipkart, it will take you to some defined category. Then it will give you the product. But this is something has been eradicated, or you would say uh, curb this semantic web technology. When we talk about the RDF here, you're directly accessing those nodes or those information through URIs, and those URIs are itself are uh, unique enough that it can be at the same time reusable across the various sites whosoever like are using those data. So I mean there are quite other benefits of using this this linked data thing. And like before we go further, I would like to quickly take you through a, a small video which basically talks about this knowledge graph technology. Uh, you guys, you guys can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Hello. Okay, cool. And is video visible to you?
No, there is no video actually. Only the first screen exploiting
Okay,
knowledge
just
as a product.
okay, just let me reshare. Uh, please do tell me if you guys hear the audio clip as well.
No audio. Video is there.
Uh, Audible is not accessible. Connect the video system. I think I am missing something. Switch audio, computer for audio.
Vishal,
Yes, 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 ma'am.
I think connecting.
I can hear an echo.
I think connecting. I'm. There is an echo. I mean to say, connecting your YouTube with WebEx may be the problem.
Okay, cool, cool.
So
I
you may not help it.
Okay, shall I? I mean, play the videos so that at least the whole idea is
Yes.
to show the concept.
Yeah,
Subtitles
that
are
is
on.
good. Right, right, right.
So that was all about the knowledge graph, that how, Google is, leveraging this knowledge graph semantic web technology to make their search engine more intelligent with these tech stack. And everybody would have seen there is a panel on the right hand side, that information itself comes out from the knowledge graph itself only. And not just an information, it also gives the relevant semantic information or related information in, like, down the information of the interest. uh, so okay, so now we have discussed what the link data is all about. Yes, now we'll go to the link data principle. So the linked data principle are the principle which basically tells the data if the data set is eligible for the this what we call the web of data or not. So the first rule says that anything which is an entity or a concept should be identified through URI in order to maintain the uniformity across whole web. For example, the concept person should be uniquely identified through a common URI. There shouldn't be like multiple URIs. So in that way, you are making sure the reusability of the same knowledge person concept across all the domain whosoever are want to use the person. And second thing is those entities or things if want to access from the other you can say the linked open data or the others databases which are this linked data are accessible through HTTP URIs. This should not be like other any other protocol than HTTP. And the third principle says once the data is the data is now adhering to this semantic web standards. Now it is ready for the knowledge consumption, and those knowledge consumption or the representation is something being done with the standardized tech stack. RDF is OWL. RDF is the basic data model. OWL is on top of for for more formal representation of domain knowledge, and Sparkle for accessing the information. And the fourth principle says that for any URI, uh, if one entity which you are searching should be further connected to the other entity through URIs, and that URI itself is a link to the other information for more uh, for more exhaustive or more relevant at the same time precise information of the interest. And if anyone wants to contribute to the linked open data, which is in a public open linked data cloud, there are these are the five stars that LOD gives to your data model or your data uh, that you want to integrate with the linked open data. So 1 star means if it is like accessible over the web, so your data set will get the 1 star. If it has machine readable data, the data set you are providing, if it's machine readable data and which could be like in XML for example, and the non-proprietary format is like we have a CSV format. If the data is in that format, the link data will give you the 3 stars, and 4 star will only be given to the data set which is completely compliant to this RDF standards. Uh, we have a complete W3 standardized tech stack. And the fourth, the data itself, the one you are want to upload, if that data has or the entity has integration with the others data on the linked data, if that is there, your data set is eligible for the 5 stars. So
Excuse
that's
me, Mr. Vishal. Can I have one
yes,
question?
yes, please, yes,
How
please.
we can make our knowledge model or any ontology as 5 star on and on LOD? What are the basic characteristics for that so that we can make our ontology as 5 star?
Okay.
Actually, in my ontology, I am getting on LOD cloud as 3 star. So what are the points that is being left so that I can make our ontology as 5 star?
Okay, so the very first thing point I would say that you yourself mentioned, you are interested in ontology to be uploaded. So your data model itself not somehow, this ontology itself, of course, your ontology would be either of the format RDF or OWL. So it's adhering the RDF standards, but at the same time, there must be some, you would say, loosely coupled uh, relationship between those entities, or there must be existing the concepts or the relationship that you might be using in your ontology, but they are somehow already existing on that linked open data. So here, one possible, I would say, one of the major thing that would help you increasing the star rating would be if you would, make your ontology reusable rather than inventing the concepts or the properties, specifically for your domain. So for example, if I would say person is the concept that is in your ontology, for an example, then instead of defining the new person, just reuse it, the one which is already provided in the standard upper ontologies like we have in schema person has. So in that way, you are at the same time making your data set valid positively validating for the shareability. The knowledge is like that person knowledge is shared across the domain of ontology that you have created with the one which is already there. And since the very basic concept, the data link data principle says that each thing is URI, is identified through URI. So I personally had like in my previous experiences, when I got to see that I was getting 3 star or 2 star because of this thing. So this will definitely help you once you incorporate this IRI thing. Try to make it more I would say sharing the concepts which are already there in the standard ontology, and only specify which actually new to your domain of discourse.
Okay, sir, I will try. Thank you.
Yes, no problem. So coming back to our the system model, the proposed the application model. So we have this like okay, we go into these two blocks which are like major knowledge modeling. So this knowledge modeling is whole about it. You are creating the domain uh, concepts for your data set. You could say ontology is the one thing. The schema creation comes under the knowledge modeling, and that schema creation is something we are calling it this T box. This T box is nothing but stores the conceptualized knowledge of the domain. And we have, once that schema is created, that schema is now ready to be leveraged by the data set for which we have created. And those data set are being ingested from these sources, the product catalog from retailers, specification from OEMs, and the data crawled from eShops. So once the data is in the linked data format, it is ready to come under this A box category. So that linked data format itself is nothing but, as I already explained in the knowledge graph slide, this knowledge graph itself is nothing but the A box, which is like a more formal term. And once the knowledge graph is ready, like we as a customer or the application is ready for the consumption of that knowledge. And now the user can end user can provide the input specification, and those based on those specification, knowledge base is queried, and customer would able to get the product which would be like more exhaustive and relevant, like more semantically uh, interoperable in terms of understanding between the human as well as the machine, which eventually enhances the customer's whole purchasing experience. And we'll discuss in detail in the coming slide. So we have a product discovery platform overview. The application we have came up with, it's a unified, interoperable, standardized vocabularies, annotated knowledge graph at heart for product discovery, recommendation, semantic search, retrieval. So now here whole keyword is, I mean, I would like to extend it. So why I'm saying unified, it's a unified platform where not just the customers but the sellers got a single platform where they both can collaborate. Interoperable, why I'm saying the underlying technology makes the seller's product catalog interoperable for the machine understanding as well as for the human. And that is something which is being done through standardized vocabularies. We discussed like schema.org. We have like other domain ontologies. By the way, vocabularies and ontology is something which I'm like interchangeably using, but there's like no major difference. Vocabulary is something which is like more generic enough and enough for the domain knowledge, and ontology is like more strictly uh, formally conceptualizing the domain knowledge basically, which has like more axioms, domain related stuff. So using those schema.org vocabulary, and there is a good relation on standard upper ontology with which we annotated our knowledge graph, which is a part of this product discovery platform. And eventually the use cases we came up, we provide out of is product discovery as the knowledge discovery, recommendation, and the semantic search retrieval over the one we were having like earlier, the keyword search retrieval. And the product itself offers the API for the end user as well as for the seller, where seller gets this endpoint for uploading their this product catalog. And on the other side, this whole customer base would access the knowledge graph for their purchasing experience through those exposed endpoints that I'll show you in the coming slides. Moreover, this application is a cloud-based web service, which is like, again, we know the benefits of cloud, easy to deploy and develop. And the solution and benefits are, it's a semantic web-based application. Knowledge graph can easily be integrated in the existing LOD for reusability. And recommendation is something which is the uh, main intent of the development. And entity search, which we are calling the semantic search retrieval, and the product discovery as the knowledge discovery. Yes, so I discussed about the standardized, schemas for the data. If one wants to publish on the internet, or the semantic web, or the linked data format, or web of data, we have standardized schemas. So few of them which are compatible to the web document are E-class, GPC. These are some which are already been uh, discussed in the literature when we were going for the already existing work, that how people in the same domain have worked with. And so the very first module of our system architecture that we were that I showed you like few slides back is the knowledge modeling. Knowledge modeling is all about how you are making uh, or your data set from the seller's end into to linked data format. So for that, we have to first come up with the schema creation, and the schema that we created is with the standardized ontology itself. And once the schema is created, now using the ETL, uh, which is like abstract transform load pipeline for the transformation purpose of the product catalog data, which could be in the form of structured, for example, CSV or Excel, or even the unstructured format. So you first have to extract it from this various sources and transforming it to this linked data format, and then eventually loading it or making it accessible for knowledge consumption. So this for this application, the schema creation has been done in such a way. For example, we used this model number, which is a unique model number associated with the product. We are saying it's an instance of a product or a service model. Just to give a brief idea about this, EEO colon represents the URI namespace for this equipment, engineering equipment ontology uh, that is developed for this project. And this is something which tells the instance variable. And by the way, this is something which I have written in more sparkle way or more uh, understandable way. So the model number, which is coming from the seller input file, that model number would be an instance of product or service model, which is being taken from the upper standardized good relation ontology and being referred through this unique URI, and which is something equivalently defined to schema.product entity. So in that way, your model number, you could implicitly deduce that this is a kind of product. And now this knowledge is something which is like consensual for the machine as well as for the human. You're not explicitly providing any metadata to the machine to make them understand ki the model number is this is a model number, or it's, I would say, this knowledge representation in AI is basically simulating more or less the human cognitive, the way human learn, and whenever it come across of and eventually come across of any new experience or any new query, it first go back into its knowledge base. Of course, context is important, and then try to come up with its experienced knowledge. I mean, combining all the knowledge that he had in the previous in its knowledge base, and then reacting to it. So in the same way, we are also representing knowledge in this knowledge representation in AI. uh, so schema.creation I was talking about. So in the same way, this model number has an annotation property DC title product model, which is name in the text format. Now, this product number, which is a unique product of type product, has been now annotated with the DC title annotation property. So now this DC title, this DC itself is a Dublin core developed, standardized vocabulary. So this, which is providing the title for this product having some name. And similarly, we are annotating it with the different annotation properties. So in that way, interoperability is existing. And since interoperability existing, at the same time, we are using those shared knowledge, like instead of reinventing the knowledge that we used to have in our conventional website. And similarly for the model number and IDs, like seller, this model number has seller quotation ID. Now this ID uh, is basically, this is defined as this statement is a complex statement. So like in uh, like the way human interprets this information, if I talk about this bit complex statement, that Vishal is an alumnus of NIT Kurukshetra and currently works at Amdocs. So now here we have a complex statement, or we would say not alike the one we have just discussed, like model number has DC title, have with some name. So this concept in this semantic intelligence, uh, how we represent that complex statement is with the mechanism what we call repification. So the repification is a process of representing the complex statement or triples. So how we would represent in the repification says, if like subject is something which is being discussed and it has some relationship, so I could say now this subject model number has affiliation with the seller quotation IDs, which is itself a collection of IDs. Now this model number basically being, the whole idea of this complex statement is to represent that this particular model number could be sold by multiple sellers. So those multiple sellers quotation ID is something being uh, I mean represented in some complex structure. And the beauty of this RDF model, this RDF data model is it has what we call RDF bag. We have like collection, we have like collection of if someone wants to have like collection of objects, then that object, then that this something that we are saying is being typed to RDF bag or RDF type collection. So we are representing in our data model that I'll show you in ontology. Let's take it to you right now. I have it opened. So this is the basically having, you can see
Vishal,
this. Yes, ma'am.
have you switched on your battery power
Yes,
source?
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Audible.
Uh, okay. Ma'am, I think there is some speaker issue from your side. Hello?
Sir, you are absolutely
Hello?
audible.
Yes,
Yes, Vishal.
I am, ma'am, now you, am I audible to you? No?
Yes.
Okay, you were saying something.
Yeah.
Actually, I was saying, have you switched on to the power source?
Power source, ma'am, which thing?
Your laptop, have you connected to the power source? There
Yes,
was a
yes, yes.
battery warning.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
right,
Yes, ma'am. Already,
right.
already.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. So as I was discussing about, so this is the model number, which is created an instance of product or service model, which is being taken from GR namespace, and here GR is being referring to this unique URI for this product or service model. And the beauty of this thing, again, I would say this product or service model, if you go the upper ontology, this good relation you would find is being, annotated with the similarity thing as a similar entity. uh, I mean, this product or service model of good relation is equivalent to the schema entity called schema product. So by default, if we are making an instance of this product or service model, the machine could able to infer this thing, that this model number is a product as well. So it has title MacBook Pro and category. Again, this category is being referred from the upper ontology. And I was talking about the complex statement, the reification process. So this model number has seller quotation, which is basically a collection of seller's ID. So now I am saying this model has seller quotation which is of something, and now this something is of type or an instance of RDF bag. This is nothing but a collection of bag of similar entity where order doesn't matter. You have that kind of semantic in RDF that you can, even if you want to store your data in a symmetric or where order matters, you can go with that annotation as well. But here the order doesn't matter, so we chose this bag, RDF bag, as a type of this something. And now this something which I am saying a collection or a bag of the seller quotation ID has seller quotation ID number 0, and we could have like multiple seller quotation IDs for this product. So currently for this particular product, we have only one seller, I mean this 0 which is referring. So let's say in future we have like multiple seller, or the multiple seller come up in association with this platform. They will input their data, and eventually after transformation there'll be some kind of an entry behind or beneath this something. And now this something is what we called in RDF the blank node. So which blank node, we have to tell this blank node is type of a bag which has like multiple links. The same link I was talking about in the statement I was earlier telling, that Vishal is an alumnus of NIT Kurukshetra, and Vishal at the same time working at Amdocs. So you could make it in this way, that Vishal has an affiliation. Now affiliation has affiliation would be the property, and that property is somehow connected with some blank node, which would say that Vishalama can have uh, one association as alumnus with NIT Kurukshetra, as a software developer with Amdocs, and probably maybe similarly I could have like previous experiences that I could add in that way. So that way we represent our knowledge in like complex format, in RDF format. So this was the, you could say the formal representation or the schema for our knowledge base, that here GR product or service model is basically, these are annotation property. Links has DC title string text equivalent to schema product, has storage strings text. Images, these are related to the image content, again schema image object. So your image is also now annotated with the schema. Your machine at least would know this is something in image. And it has RDF string. So these are some of the annotation or the relationship that we defined either with the this is, if this is the subject, then the immediate node or the immediate literal would be considered as the object, And here object could be itself an a node or a literal. So if we have any information which is not I would say shareable or specific to that product, or I would say an attribute property, so we represent that information as a string. If we have like that information could be like on top of it referring to some other class, have some other links, in that case we make it a node. So for example, that we here we have like schema image object. Now schema image object, which is the entity of the schema.org vocabulary, could have like multiple nodes associated with this thing. And for example, the kind of image it is, the pixel, more information related to the image thing, the multimedia aspect. And in that way we could leverage those implicit shared knowledge in our information as well, like without redefining one for us. uh, why so we have the schema has been created. Now time to come to to basically transform your input seller catalog uh, to make it linked data, or we could say the knowledge graph, or we could say the A box, in more formal term, assertion box. So this, let's take an instance. This 12391 is the unique what RDFS type, product or service model, which has DC title, a unique name, ThinkPad Yoga, and it has video link, promotional video link, and has OS EEO Windows. So now, as you can see, Windows is a node. Now one could have like multiple relationship with the Windows itself, and this is the information related to the product. Now this has like has seller quotation. This product has seller quotation 1, seller quotation 2. We have, as I was telling about, we have to make a blank node. So that blank node is further connected with the another node through URI with the property has seller quotation, seller one's ID and seller two's ID, which has its own offering to that similar product. Like we have this seller quotation says that they have they say they sell this product. Uh, this particular product is with being sold by Flipkart, and has currently they have the quantity as 20. This they are selling at 1399 euros, which is the currency, and similarly the other seller. So now like this now coming to the methodologies that we have went through while we were transforming our input seller product catalog into this RDF standardized linked data. So there are like many methodologies. One, the Protege selfie plugin with the DSL rule, which the was discussed and showed by like one of the expert yesterday. And we have like other thing called W3Cs R2 RML RDB to RDF mapping language. So by the way, this knowledge modeling methodology are used to transform your structured, or I would say your CSV or RDF data into uh, sorry, let me correct, tabular CSV data into RDF. Or since we want our data to be in linked data format. So these are the various methodologies. So first is using Protege selfie plugin. So this is the inbuilt plugin of the Protege tool, and the DSL rule are more DSL is nothing but the domain specific language rules. These are something which are being declared by Manchester, uh, something called Manchester I don't know the exact Manchester master, uh, and using that format we have to write rules. I can show you that as well, and with those rules your tabular data or CSV gets aligned with your ontology or your schema. But one thing I personally experienced with this data, and I would also highlight that in fact yesterday sir also told that with this thing only limited set of data set can be aligned with this selfie plugin and DSL rules. Now, the second methodology is W3C standardized R2RML mapping language. So it's a mapping language where you basically create a mapping of mapping, specifically considering all the uh, aspect that your data set could have. For example, in our case, the seller product catalog could have this model number, model name, seller. So these are the possible information that that domain could have. So considering those information, we write rules or mapping rule in this art in this R2 RML format that is standardized by W3C, and using that.
Vishal, I have to interrupt a bit. Please take care that we have next 30 minutes. So accordingly, please plan your talk.
Okay, sure, thanks,
Yeah,
ma'am.
please go ahead.
So next, we have the OpenRefine. It's a free source, open source project. And the fourth one is like OntoRefine from OntoText. This is basically is being developed by OntoText using OpenRefine itself, but this is more like a commercial graph database. So we tried to stick ourselves to open source technologies. So we went with OpenRefine tool, and there are like many other approaches. So let's quickly go to the hands-on that how we modeled knowledge using the OpenRefine. I have shared and some prerequisite list of tools that one has to have for the hands-on. So I'll quickly elaborate. So for the hands-on, okay. So for the hands-on, we have uh, okay. So anybody who has like I hope everybody has installed or downloaded those tool. Uh, I would rather say to I mean follow with me that how I am like you making transforming basically the CSV formatted data into RDF with some standardized schema entities. So I so the data set is already provided at the GitHub. So this is the place, and this is the data is in the CSV format. As you can see, this the quantity, model number, manufacturer. So these are the various attributes, and our data is in this format, which has like more than 1,000
It-
attributes,
Hello,
rows.
Mr. Laman.
Yes, go ahead.
How to get this? Can you please share the link?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll.
Please look into the chat box. Vishal, which one is the data set? I can see.
Ma'am, data set is
Just
basically,
mention the number. Look into the chat box
I'm sharing it, the link.
again. Okay.
Yes. So you can quickly like go through, and maybe you can reuse. So, okay, so this data has already been taken by me on my local. Just, considering the interest of time, like instead of re-downloading, I have downloaded it this morning before the session. And we have this Open Refine. I'll, make you show from the beginning. So once you, there are some, steps that I've already mentioned in the that file that Sarika ma'am has shared with you, configuring that how to configure this this Open Refine. Hello.
Yeah, please continue.
So this Open Refine tool is basically a data wrangler tool, and which is being massively used by data engineers. And why I'm specifically uh, came or using this, since the data we receive from the product seller could have like multiple inconsistencies, not in the form the way we are expecting to be, so the kind of a cleaning has to be done before we make it sure for the next processing. So this Open Refine is being basically we are using this Open Refine along with the RDF extension, which is the inbuilt, not the inbuilt. We have to again download, install, configure with the Open Refine. That again, I have mentioned the steps in that file shared with you guys. And once that RDF extension is configured, when you would run this Open Refine the next time, I'll show you. You will see the RDF extension, plugin over this UI. So here you will choose your CSV, tabular data. So let laptop CSV, laptop CSV. So laptop CSV has been chosen. Now it's getting uploaded. So by the way, I have already, cleaned it. The data was like earlier. I'll like somewhere it has, missing thing. Like I would say lot of inconsistencies we found when we receive, raw data from the catalog from the seller. So like we have like here the missing information. So we are saying that for this thing, make it as a blank row. I mean, need not to do anything with it. Uh, so here you have like various options. Uh, if you want to make your, project name, let's say you make this CSV to RDF, and here you can also mention stored file update preview, ignore first line, 0th line, pass next, discard. Now in the next step, although it gives you a feature that you can, make any cleaning or any editing of the data if you find any anomaly or inconsistency across. So for now, the view is of 10 rows. And here you would see the RDF extension if it is configured with the Open Refine, else you will not. And in the edit RDF section, when you would see the RDF schema alignment tool. So here, let's say you want to, since I have told you that everything in your linked data is, referred through URI, and that too with HTTP protocol. And let's say we make it some base URI, let's say linked data, linked open data, or let's say we make it EEO slash version, let's say 0.1 slash, this would be the unique reference. And now you would see your data here. Let's say I would like to, okay, these are some, provided vocabularies by the tool that comes with the RDF extension, that RDF OWL, this RDFS, FOF, and you could add as many as of your, choice. I would like to add one which is of main interest, that is schema.org's. So schema.org, yes, I could see. So, what I would be requiring. So this is the schema.org. I'll take its unique IRI with which it would be like being referred. Since I'm already having, although you can fetch it from the uh, internet. Let's check if it fetches out or not. If it had fetched out all the vocabularies defined in schema.org, I could be able to see here while I'll be like annotating. So let's say model number is the name of the column in our data set that we provided as CSV, and we want to make it a node, because that could have like multiple further information or the relations. And we could say okay, and this model name type for the class annotated with the schema.org. If it got downloaded, it would show you schema, or I would say I'll type the product. So sometimes it gets problem while adding this ontology. So the other way you could do is just delete if it had not downloaded. Now we'll add it manually. Provide the URI. Now importing from the local your desktop. You have knowledge representation, ontology, and schema.org. Now prefix schema, SCHEMA. Okay, so cool. So here, like instead of I am like interest of time annotating it with the schema.org itself only. So let's say type product. Now you could see all the schema.org, concept which are there defined by the 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 tech technology giants. So we have like schema product. So this model is of schema product. I want to say it has a category. It has category. Let's say schema cell, which has basically category. What if we want to see what all about the category has? So now it has ultrabook notebook. So these all information is something which could have further information. We'll make it a URI. And similarly for screen size, and we have like this is how we define a simple statement. Now let's come to the reification process, or we would say the complex statements. So let's take about this thing, price. Price is again, since we have two columns, representing the price. One is giving the currency and one is giving the actual price thing. So let's see if it has. So we'll say that the product has a price specification, which is an entity of schema. Now this price, we'll make it as an integer or non-integer, because its value is like could be in decimal. And wait, no, we don't need to actually, because we are saying this price specification has two things, the currency as well as your price, actual price, like face value. So instead of let's just cut and add another property, uh, price specification, and configure that it's a blank node of type blank node. That's blank node. Now this blank node has to have some type, since it has some you know further collection of things. So I would say it's RDF bag. So you, as you can see, we have like lot of I mean annotations with which you can provide semantics to your data. And this is something, the beauty of this RDF, like sharing, like shareability across domain, that not just machine but human could also understand. So now I made this blank node as of type RDF bag. Now it gives me an extension that I could add a property associated with that blank node. Now I'm saying that blank node has a property called price type, or price currency. Let's say currency is one property. Now we'll configure the currency of the currency as one of the element of price specification. So here we have chosen the price currency. We'll refer it. Where is currency? Oops, this database itself containing the data in let me check the data. Okay, cool. So here we need not to provide. I have basically make it bit change for make it simpler for this demo perspective. Let's take the other complex statement. Since price specification, simply we can add the price. Let's say this price, instead of blank type, no, we want to make it a price of non-integer type. And now this price is of literal. And we want to further, I want to just show you the how to transform the complex thing. So the property we have, let's say seller quotation, yeah, offerings. So we have has okay, IDs. Let's create one, since we're not having that a property that we want to associate with the blank node. Let's just seller quotation IDs. If it is not, it will get created with the URI, the one you defined in as in base URI. So defining it as a blank node. Now this blank node is of type bag of RDF. Now this bag is of RDF, has like collection of IDs. So we are saying the actual has seller quotation ID. Again, since this property was not already existing, but I would say there definitely exists at least one property or such property which would be generic enough to at least consider like many properties of domain of interest. So there definitely we can make it subclass of that property in future. Now we are saying has seller ID. So one seller ID we have like make it the row number as the URI one. Now further we want to make it more further complex. Now here this model name has a seller quotation IDs which contains the possible seller it has. Now the collection bag it's of blank type, so which has association with the seller ID with this has seller quotation ID property. Now this index row which is of type seller ID. Now we can say further make it more complex because that again single node has information about this, and now this node has further information, and that's how we could able to infer the information that the model number has, like what are the possible sellers, or the seller it has, how many quantities does it have, though it doesn't have any immediate association. So that's the beauty of this linked data. So this row type you are, let's say, has your property name title is coming from FOF. So this is not we are interested in, because FOF is for the like more tells about this person designation. So schema title we are taking, and here we are saying the manufacturer, which is again will make it a URI, because this manufacturer Flipkart can have other association with other links. So just let's check how it got transformed. So here is the corresponding transformation. It says that this is okay. Node has some, I'll make little more, readable property. Let's say label, RDFS label, make it this model number as text, and one more property, let's say title, a unique title for the name, model name. Again, this model name, I made it as a literal for simplicity. So as you can see, the corresponding transformation in RDF review. So this is a URI, which is an something, a URI, an individual of schema product entity, which has seller quotation ID of something which is a blank node. And here the verification process complex statement comes into picture. So this zero blank node is a type of collection which is of RDF type and has seller quotation ID. Fortunately, it has only one seller, zero has, and this zero, if we want to find the now an that this is the direct link that the product has, zero. Now if we want to have further information associated with this zero ID, let's go and search it. Okay, cool.
Vishal, we need to be a bit more abstract.
Yes, ma'am. Just I'm taking like more 2 to 3
Yeah.
minutes, and we'll be going on the demo part.
Right.
So the zero has schema title. Now the ID which we have defined above, which has title, which says that this zero is the unique seller quotation ID representing the Apple as the manufacturer. And similarly, we have like other association or annotation properties for our product. For let's say this is one model which has RDFS label, MacBook Pro name, category, Ultrabook, specification, price specification is this, and which has of type double. So these are, you are like, annotating the semantic, uh, metadata, like while representing your data to machine, and you're not explicitly providing anything which is only understandable to machine. Not so you are here breaking the silos of this non-interoperable thing which was there in non-semantic web. So that's how you got your RDF schema, which is itself a knowledge base containing the triple and the information built up about that triple. And this whole information is nothing but a box, assertion box, or knowledge graph. So once it is done, you could export it as turtle or RDF XML. These are the two serialization. Let's take the turtle, which is like more human readable, format. Let quickly like go through what it has created. So as you can see, this is the file, the knowledge base of that much of thousand and more than 1,000 data. I mean, although we have not included, uh, you know, annotation on all the columns, because considering the interest of time again, we have just annotated like model number, manufacturer, model name, category, and currently in the demo. But for the actual application, we have a full-fledged, knowledge graph for the this CSV formatted data that I'll show you now in the demo. So just back to the slide. So this knowledge consumption is being accessed through the various endpoints. We have exposed the Rapid Information Explorer, Sparkle endpoint that I'll show you in the demo. These were the tools and technologies that we used while developing. For backend, we have this IDE technology, this and data wrangling tools, Open Refine RDF extension. This Postman is the tool, which since this is a backend application, cloud-based, and the application is deployed on Heroku, which is a platform as a service cloud platform. Uh, Source and versioning controlling, we use GitHub and this. And these are some references to the experimental settings or the uh, references to our database like GitHub or the Postman or other prerequisites. So going back to the demo, so currently the application, as I mentioned, is deployed on the cloud Heroku, and I can quickly show you that how it looks like. So this is the platform PaaS, which is provided by Heroku, which is a subsidiary of Salesforce company. So we have a product discovery service. So this is our semantic web application, linked data application, which is deployed on our this cloud. Of course, at the same time, we are leveraging the benefits of cloud. The moment we check in our code in the Bitbucket, it automatically gets deployed here on the cloud. So we are more like interested in the logs. So currently the beauty of cloud is the application is in the sleep state. The moment we hit it, it automatically gets up. So that's how it also making the availability whenever it is required. So making the proper utilization of resource as well. So these are the 4 endpoints that we have for the application. So as you can see, this is the URI where the application is globally accessible to everybody. I can share the credential that anyone could access that application from their local machine, providing they have installed Postman, and I'll share the requisite for this thing. So let's say currently this Rapid Information Explorer, what it does, it basically does the semantic search, or I would say entity search. Like here, although it's misnomerly given keyword, it's a misnomer, mistakenly given keyword, but it is actually doing the semantic search. So let's say I, as a customer or a user, doesn't know about anything, whether it's a subject, or I just simply type the entity and just send it. And this query is hit on the server. As you can say, the state changes from starting, application got immediately up, and that's how it basically, it's a Spring Boot application, Java based. And for semantic web tech stack, we are using the Apache Gina framework, which is a Java application framework for semantic web application for querying over our knowledge graph. And this is something it retrieved all the triples or the facts stored in our knowledge graph, and it says that this is the model number which has storage. I mean, 8 GB is something which it basically does. I mean, 128 GB is something we did a query in our knowledge. I mean, we wrote a query in that way that wherever it will get 8 or multiple of 8, it will retrieve the product or related product associated with the 8 GB. If it doesn't find any 8 GB, then it will recommend or suggest related products of more or less the same configuration. So that's how, let's say, if we're interested in Apple, is something we are, since the domain here is the product discovery for the this environment, why it is not searching for Apple? Let me check if we are querying over. Seems like I have deployed the previous version. 8 GB Apple, we have, let's say, Windows. But why, let's say, Intel? Okay, I think,
Vishal, you had a subset of the data set. This is
yes,
why. So
yes,
you
yes,
may
ma'am.
continue further.
Sure, ma'am. So the entity, this Intel is now, you could semantically, it gives you this thing that you have queried the Intel, which has CPU of this model number. So related triplets in the form of facts appears. Now the second endpoint that we have provided to the end user is this Sparkle endpoint for the user. You can provide the information in the form of Sparkle query as well. So I have like one query over here which says that the I5 wherever, so it will basically retrieve the information wherever it will find the product having I5 as one of its specification. We can have like as many as information on the fly. Now the this third endpoint, which is like recommender, or which is recommending product based on the product specification. So these are the product specification that we have provided. And let's say user is something want to have a product, let's say with this specification, has category gaming. He doesn't want an operating system. and quantity, let's say he wants to purchase at least maximum 10 laptops with these configuration, and GPU it says of, let's say, NVIDIA, and I don't know the spelling of NVIDIA. I'll simply say NV something, and I just hit. Based on this configuration, it will give me this product. Okay, let's say the category, now I say notebook. Now I don't want any I want all type of notebook. It doesn't matter. Let's say operating system is not our major concern. Quantity is something not interested in, but price here is something which I want to restrict. Let's say I want to say the price should not be less than 1,000 euros. So based on these two product specification, it will recommend the products uh, which has model number this, product name is this i5 this, and which has image, product clip, brand is HP, and it has configuration 6 GB RAM, and OS Windows, CPU. So it basically based on the product, these product specification, it generated these recommendation. And let's say tomorrow somebody comes and he says he's interested in, let's say, want to buy so mean to say based on brand. Let's say we are interested in Apple, price in euros 1,000. So we came up with these two products, and price in, let's say, uh, price is not the concern for me here, and I don't want the brand to be the restriction, but I am like more into like Windows. So I'll say Windows is my concern, and I want to buy, at least 15 laptops which are having Windows. CPU is something, CPU should be of Intel or i5, let's say, is my priority. And storage, or these are the configuration that you can give. Storage is, let's say, you say screen type, let's say you say 13 is something which I'm looking for, or 13 in the range of. So it will fetch you out the information based on these product spec. That category you have notebook, HP, and this is the product model number, and product name is W10, which is of brand HP, has RAM 8 GB, i5 is the CPU as per the specification, and Intel is not the given, but it is retrieving. And now, as you could see, the screen is, you mentioned 13. So screen, what it is giving, screen size, sorry, we have given the wrong value in screen type. But here, what it is doing, semantic similarity. It knows uh, that there is no something called integer value for the type, but screen size, let's say we say 14. It will retrieve 14.0, 14.0, 14.0. So in that, how, let's say we want to restrict it with the price for like less than, should be not more than 800 euros. We can restrict it. Now you'll be saving 722 euros, 770. So
Vishal, next.
yes, so this is the fourth endpoint that we have given for the seller to upload their product catalog. So they have to simply upload their catalog here. Let's say CSV uh, is the file that they want to put in our platform, laptop CSV. They will simply say send, and it will get uploaded on the application platform, and it says catalog has been uploaded. So coming back to the presentation, we have like, these are the milestones that we are like working on: the unstructured data sources, integrating the unstructured data sources, and incorporating the machine learning paradigms like mining the information and binary classification. We have we'll align this developed EU ontology with the LOD cloud, and cementing similarity is something that we'll be like working on for enhancing recommendation. So any questions?
Yes, guys, if you people have some questions, please come along. Because a very limited time, a complete project could not be explained, but demonstrated, yes, well. I think you have already covered open refine very deeply, and the complete knowledge modeling now the participants can do. So if you people have any queries regarding the talk, please come forward. Otherwise, great job done, Vishal. And
Um,
I hope the participants will take home a lot from this, and we'll be sharing the video also with the participants. So by chance, if you people missed something on the way, that could be retrieved later on. So thank you, Vishal. Thanks for the excellent job.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And at the same time, ma'am, we are looking for the collaborators for the project. Ma'am, would you like to extend on that?
Yeah, if actually I don't know that, let us see if there are certain queries or something from the participant side, and if somebody from the audience like to join us on this project, you people are most welcome. We'll be happy to collaborate, because it is in its novice stage, though a minimal viable product is there with us, but yes, lots of ideas for extension. So if you people wish to collaborate, we could go forward. Yeah, so thank you everyone. So we'll be joining back within 10 minutes for the next session. Dr. Asha Subramanian from Semantic Web India, Pune will be here with us with her talk. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, for being